Hey, my friends, Mike Shreve here, and welcome to the No Pants Show, episode 7. Okay, we're doing this every single day. I hope that you are enjoying these. We're having a lot of fun. Today, what I'm going to talk about is something called time vampires. I've heard this from numerous, that title from a lot of different people, so I don't exactly know who to attribute it to, but time vampires, what in the heck are they? These are the people in your life, these are the people in your business that are distracting you and taking you away from whatever it is that you want. And some of them are not, not all time vampires are necessarily bad people who are trying to ruin your life, but the way that they act around you, the things that they do, they are distracting. They are taking what is your most precious resource, which is time. And so as a business owner, as a freelancer, you must develop skills and strategies to deal with those time vampires. Just today, I sent out an email about how your biggest job as a business owner is learning how to say no to all the distractions, how to say no to all the people who are wasting your time, et cetera, et cetera. And so for the next couple of days, we are going to do a Slaying the Time Vampire series. Today, we're going to talk about 2 specific types of vampires that are likely already in your life right now, already on your client roster. I'm going to teach you how to spot them in advance, so in the future you can avoid them. I'm going to teach you how to prevent them, what tools you can put in place so that these people don't abuse your time. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to fix the problem if you're already in that situation where you're kind of getting, people are dragging you down. So the first one we're going to talk about is the indecisive idler. These people, my friends, cannot make decisions to save their life. And because of their indecisiveness and your emotional attachment to whatever that decision is, they end up taking an incredible amount of not just physical time, like minutes and minutes, but emotional and mental time as you wait for them to make a decision. So these are called the indecisive idlers. In client form, these are typically people, here's how you can spot them, when you're trying to help them either make a decision about their business, take them to the next level, or during the prospecting phase, right? When you're trying to close them as a client, they kind of tend to drag their feet. They don't make decisions very quickly. They often will get a ton of different people to weigh in on a subject, even though they hired you to do the thing for them. These people are indecisive from the get-go. You can spot them very easily just in your very first conversations. Now, how do you prevent taking on these types of people as clients? The easiest and quickest way to make sure that they are not part of your business and dragging your business down is you're kind of like, I don't know if you're like me, but I hate open loops. An open loop is when I say, hey, can I do this? And then 7 days go by and they don't respond to me. And I'm like, can I do it? I don't know. Can I do? And like not having closure on things drives me insane. And so if you have a lot of those in your business, you can literally feel like you're working a lot more than you're actually working because just the open loops make you nuts. So how do you prevent it? You create real scarcity, okay? Now, what do I mean by real scarcity? Real scarcity is when you have positioned yourself as a freelancer and you have such demand for your services, demand that you create, it doesn't just come out of thin air, but the demand that you create for your services that you can say to people honestly and realistically, look, I only have time for this. Maybe I have 2 slots open for my services. I don't have any more time than that. What will happen is the people who take a long time to decide, they simply won't purchase from you. They will not hire you for their services. And I'm telling you guys right now, that is a good thing. Trust me, if you charge, let's say you charge $100 an hour for something, those the indecisive idlers will figure out a way to squeeze out 2 hours for every hour that you bill them, okay? So it really is best if you can create real scarcity in your business, and when you open your doors, when you are offering people the opportunity to work with you and hire you, and you're going to work on their business and help them, having the ability to say, look, I really honestly, you need to decide in the next 48 hours, you need to decide in the next 72 hours because I have a line of other people. That is how you prevent indecisive idlers. If you don't know how to create real scarcity in your business, check out the workshop somewhere. There's a link here. I walk through, first it's creating a superpower. Next, it's creating a client getting faucet where you're basically build a fast email list and you get a couple hundred or a couple thousand people on your email list so that you really do only have very limited slots. And then lastly, it's all about creating passive income so that you really don't have to spend your whole day doing done for you, but you can literally squeeze down the done for you time that you need to invest in your business and make up some of that income with sort of passive product type stuff. Okay, so that's how you create real scarcity. Now, what happens if it's too late? What happens if you have clients right now or people in your life right now that just take forever to decide and they kind of keep putting you on hold and they don't know what they're doing? This is actually the key to fixing this problem is twofold. One, you can fire them. You can get them out of your life. That's one thing you can do. If you're not in a position to fire them, then you need to do internal work, okay? This is very hard internal work, and it's one that I honestly struggle with myself. The first is that often this idea of having open loops and then unable to create decisions causes anxiety. Right? You're like, I don't know, can I do this? Are we going to hit the deadline? The deadline's in 7 days and they haven't said anything. That anxiety, to fix that, that's just internal work. What are your coping mechanisms for anxiety? How do you deal with the stress of whatever? The other part, and one of the tools I've learned about dealing with that anxiety is to let those clients and let those people make their own decisions and let them lay in the bed that they create. So for example, if a deadline is in 7 days and you tell them and you're open in your communication, you're like, look, I need this by tomorrow. Otherwise, I can't hit your deadline in 7 days. And then when they don't follow through, when they don't give you whatever it was that you needed tomorrow, and a day goes by and 2 days goes by, instead of taking the impetus on yourself, which is what most freelancers do, they're like, oh no, I'm never going to be able to make the 7 days. If you were clear in your communication and said, this is what I need to be successful for you, then that client needs to lay in the bed that they have created for themselves. You're not going to hit the 7-day deadline. And you, this is where the internal work comes in, have to have the courage to stand up for yourself so that you can serve them better. Okay? Because it's not about having power dynamics and I'm going to punch you in the face and I'm going to be the best freelancer. It's more about look, it's going to take me 7 days to do a good job, so I need you to give this to me tomorrow. And if they don't, then by definition, unless you were lying before, which I hope you weren't, you're not going to be able to do a good job. So you have to stand your ground on what you need in order to do a good job, right? And then you need a marketing system which will allow you to find clients who can work within those boundaries. It's business has to be a win-win, right? It has to be win-win for both parties. Okay, so you have to be able to let them lay in the bed that they make. If they don't hit your deadline, you're not going to hit the deadline. And they have to deal with it, right? You have to be able to say, like I said, look, I told you this is what it's going to take, and you didn't get it for me, so I can't hit your deadline, okay? And then lastly is to systemize any follow-up that you need so that you can be emotionless in your follow-up. So say, okay, we have a deadline in 2 weeks. What I'm going to do is every 3 days, I'm going to send an email. It's going to be a generic email. I've already written it out. Boom, send. Boom, send. Boom, send. And I'm just going to be totally emotionless about it. Don't be reactionary. Be systematic. Set a calendar for follow-up. And that's how you fix it. Honestly, it's easier to fire them and find someone else who is not going to be so indecisive. All right, so that's number one. That's our indecisive idler. Number two, these people make me crazy, but they are called stepping stool stands, okay? One of the worst time vampires out there. They are the people who take advantage of your goodness, of your kindness. They want more. They try to push your limits. They don't respect any boundaries that you set. and they essentially intimidate and bully their way through the relationship that you have. I've definitely had these clients before. My go-to move is just to fire them immediately. But how do you spot them? Okay. Now this is very, very simple. When I teach my freelancing students, I teach them to not make it like snip, snap, easy to buy from you. Especially if you're going to get in a relationship where you're investing time and you're investing your efforts, and it might be a longer relationship, whatever that might be. I like to say, make sure you have some paperwork that needs to get done, make them fill out a questionnaire, these types of things. If they're not willing to invest at least that much in you, then for sure, it's only going to get worse from there, right? Relationships always start bright and shiny and wonderful and new and everybody loves each other. 6 months down the road, it's like, I hate this person, right? Every human relationship is like that. So I tell people to have some sort of steps in there in between, hey, how are you, to give me some money. And in that process, you can identify stepping stool stands very quickly because they don't listen, they don't follow your rules, and they think they're above the rules. They might say, I don't need to fill this out. I'll just send it to you in a different format. I don't need to do this questionnaire. You know everything. I don't need to do this. These people, if that's where they're starting, are going to get much worse in 3 months and 6 months and a year, right? So that's how you can tell. You have your process built in to kind of feel this stuff out before you just start taking money and jumping into bed with people. And then you can tell if they follow your rules or not. Now, how do you prevent this? Well, what I just told you is one of them, but specifically is to have a policy of what your boundaries are and literally have a document which has your policy. So for example, no, you cannot call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. No, I do not respond to your texts. No, I will not work on the weekends even if you didn't get your stuff done. Like all of these different boundaries and policies, have it in a document form that you require new clients to sign before you even allow them or give them any sort of payment information. Now, some of you are like, oh my gosh, Mike, how in the heck am I going to get them to sign something where there's all these rules and et cetera, et cetera? Again, it goes back to having an ability through a good marketing system, through a good client attraction system, or process or plan or whatever you want to call it, to create demand. You can typically only do these things when you are standing in a position of people coming to you, whereas it's a little bit harder to go out to other people and be like, hi, I want you to hire me. Oh, and here's a whole bunch of demands, right? It's much easier when it's the other way around, when people are coming to you. So setting strong boundaries is how you prevent this from happening. Specifically, in that boundary sheet, making sure that it's clear to the client what your boundaries actually are. Like it's amazing to me how many people in their heads say, I have super clear boundaries. And then you go ask the people who are around them and working with them, and the people around them are like, I have no idea what his boundaries are. Honestly, guys, I'm guilty of that sometimes. I'm working on that within my own business all the time of like, how can I make this more clear? How can I get to clarity? Because people are generally good. Meaning 9 times out of 10, if you have clear boundaries, people will respect that, especially if you can deliver the goods, right? So if you can actually help people and do what you say you can do, they will absolutely do whatever they can to help you to do that, right? But it has to be clear. If right now you are being disrespected, you are being, stepping stool Stan is kind of walking all over you in your client relationship, I would put money on the fact that they don't know what your boundaries are. And I would even take it one step further and challenge you that I bet you don't know what your boundaries are. I bet you haven't sat down and said, when do I actually want to take phone calls? And gotten clear. I will take phone calls from 2 to 3, from 2 to 4:45. How can someone actually get a hold of you? I don't want them to call my phone. I want them to book through a Calendly link. Okay, like clarity starts with you before you can expect anything on the client's end, okay? So that's how you prevent stepping stool stand. The last piece is, how do you fix this problem? Honestly, you have to fire them. I have not found many situations where if you set up certain expectations about how you're going to operate, meaning you take their phone calls and you respond to their emails whenever they want to get a hold of you, I've found very few instances where you can walk that back without really affecting the relationship. Meaning, if you're like, okay, I'm going to answer every single one of their emails within 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Actually, I'm only going to answer their emails once a day at 9 a.m. The client feels that quite heavily, to a point where, excuse me, to the point where a client sees that as a change in the value that they are paying for. If they've gotten used to something in a relationship, it's just very difficult to walk it back and maintain the same pricing, maintain the same relationship, etc. So in my experience, I typically fire them. And I do it in the way, let's see, where do I have that? I have a training, which is actually close. I just now, and this is not a trick, I was just thinking I have a template that I give away in a training that we're not currently running. I'll see if I can find it and maybe post it as a link here, which is an email template of how I fire people or how I fire clients, or how I make the change, whether I'm raising prices or whether I'm getting them to changing the boundaries or something. It works. It's the best thing I found to work, other than just straight, bye, we're done today, right? You never want to burn bridges, even bridges that are maybe a little shaky, a little old, rusty, not your favorite bridge. Just don't burn bridges as a general policy. Okay, my friends, that is it. We talked about the indecisive idler, and we talked about the stepping stool stand and how to spot them, how to prevent them, and how to fix the problem. In the next couple days, I'm going to be sending out a few more of these videos all about time vampires. You will find, my friends, that time management strategies is really like how you work less and still maintain the income you want or make more income. It's not tricks and strategy, it's not all these crazy things. It's really like time management type of things like this. Getting rid of things that are wasting your time, focusing in, time blocking, all these sorts of things that we talk about all the time. And time vampires are the easiest and they move the needle the most fix to make. Okay, so we're going to spend a couple days talking about time vampires and all the different ones that you can expect to see in your business and in your life, by the way, and because business is life. Okay, my friends, that is it for our episode 7 of the No Pants Show. I hope that you enjoyed it, loved you. I'm going to see if I can find that training. If not, I might do a Facebook Live in a couple of weeks on how to fire someone, or how to, ask or change the nature of the relationship and just have that as a separate training. We'll see. I don't know. These aren't really planned, okay? All right. Love you guys. I hope you have an awesome one. Take it easy, and I'll see you around.